Okay, so here we are. A dark room with with stuff and more stuff. And hopefully I can see your comments. Comics. You're here to see my comics. So before we kind of sort of get started here, and I know what I'm doing, I promise. Let's get the music going. Give Twitch a go sometime in the future. So anyways, you would think I know how to do this by now. After, was this episode 130? Yeah. So anyways, my name is Rich Drezen. This is Drezen Draws. I am a cartoonist, creator of a comic book series called Luckyzilla, which you may have heard of. I've been all over Long Island and in several different states promoting this character. He's also sitting way up there on my shelf that you can't really see because the lighting in here, well, it leaves something to be desired. So I'm going to get into some of the advertising that we have going on right now so we can get that out of the way because I don't really have a lot of time right now and I want to focus on the reason that y'all are here. If you like what you see here and would like to book me for your next event, I started with birthday parties and corporate events because, hey, you know, that's the base. Anyone knows that we don't just celebrate birthday parties and corporate events. There's plenty of other fun things that happen in life. For example, I got married recently, and that was wonderful. Yeah, I can't say enough great things about my wedding day with my wife. And she wants me to get out of the house and meet more people, so book me, make my wife happy. You can also commission me. Character commissions start at $50. You can add a character for $35 each. I also do pet portraits, which go for $125 and up, plus shipping and handling. Unfortunately, shipping is not very forgiving these days, so I do apologize for that. I would love to just be able to ship for free, but anyways, I'll stop moaning and groaning about that. If you would like an opportunity to meet me in person, I am going to be at the East Meadow Public Library's MCon Anime Fest, Saturday and Sunday, April 22nd and 23rd. Get another opportunity to see me a week later at the Sachem Public Library on Saturday, April 29th. That following Saturday, May 6th, I will be at MasticCon at the Center Moriches Free Public Library. And if anyone from there is watching this, in case I have the wrong address, please let me know so I can fix it. And lastly, for the time being, I will be at the Cradle of Aviation Museum's CradleCon on May 20th and 21st. And also, if you like what you see here and want to support my work, I do have a Patreon, and I do have a website, and could promote that later. But I am a freelance graphic designer for Trauma Entertainment, and recently they have started adding Luckyzilla digital comics to their Trauma Now streaming service. You can get them on there, and they are included in your streaming service. It's free 1 month trial, only $4.99 a month afterwards. Go to trauma-now.com to sign up. While Trauma is known for being, well, for adults, there are some family-friendly programs on there. I was very surprised to know that they do have quite a few family-friendly properties. And also, for you classic movie lovers, they have the Rome Group film library on there, so you can catch up on things you may have missed that are available and otherwise barely watchable public domain VHS tapes and budget DVDs from a company that will remain nameless for a number of reasons. So now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Now, what does a comic book look like before it gets all nice and pretty and like this? Well, first and foremost, you need a story. You need to have a series of events involving characters. You need to develop your characters. I mean, you don't need to do anything. I don't want you to think that I'm ordering you to do what I say no matter what, because that's not the kind of person I am. Think of these all as suggestions. Take some time to develop your characters. If you have done this a while, there are certain things that you might just want to dive into, like, oh, okay, so-and-so has a peanut allergy. How does that affect them? And how do they potentially overcome it? Or what are some really screwed up things we can do with so-and-so? So you start making a list of stuff, maybe, and then before you know it, you have a number of events that could form a story. Particularly if something else is coming together with it and, you know, they just merge. It's kind of hard to explain, but this wasn't something that came into my head until just now, so. When you get your story pretty much all ironed out, it helps to break it down into a document called a script. This is the script for... It'll register. This is a script for Luckyzilla number 33. The comics are 20 pages each, and they sell for $5. I just finished the penciling on Luckyzilla number 33 today. I tilt it just the right way, you might be able to see it. And today we're going to be inking page 13 of Luckyzilla number 33. We're going to be doing that here on this Wacom Cintiq 22 HD drawing tablet. And let's get right into it. For a time, when I did a webcomic version of Luckyzilla, I would draw entirely on the tablet, go completely paperless, thinking, you know, hey, I'm helping the environment, that's cool. But also at the same time, it helps to back away from the screen. And also not be ashamed of whatchamacallit. What was I about to say? Earnings? What do you mean, earnings? dude. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. I found that as convenient as it was to draw directly on screen, it really messed with my eyesight after a while. And I did animation for a long time. I don't any longer. There is an animated Lucky that has been sitting in limbo for 7 years. I'm not too happy about that. But I am also only one person, so eventually that will come out. I cannot say when. But that will be the last thing that I ever animate. So I love animation. I loved doing animation. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the best piece of advice that I can about animation. It is a very lonely profession. Comics can be a very lonely profession as well, but animation more so. It is incredibly time-consuming. The end product that you come up with can be the greatest thing ever, or just another bit of content to fulfill a streaming service contract. So I'll tell you something about cable TV and television. Television is still here, but it's not what it was. The corporations keep finding ways of shutting down independent creators, which is unfortunate. But they've also caught on to the fact that, streaming is here to stay. I was in a group on Facebook that described people that decide to stream their content as opposed to physical media are cord cutters. Their words, not mine. I don't remember the name of the person who it was, and even if I did, I wouldn't say it because, I'm not trying to spread any more drama. Because I can't stand drama. I almost went on Twitch with this because I sat in on a live stream on there last night, and it seemed to have some pretty good tools. So many episodes in the Drezen Draws library have started on Facebook, because up until recently a lot of people had Facebook. And I figure I'll stick with what I know for right now, but I see, Facebook it's not what it used to be. I think I can do better. So I'll figure out how to. Shoes, feet, things of that nature can be a pain to draw, but pain or no pain, you want to get a comic out? It's what you have to do. Otherwise, don't design a character that's got shoes. Now, for a long time, there were cartoon characters that were funny animals, because human characters are kind of hard to draw. And that's okay. I mean, personally, I don't care. I enjoy these characters. They've been with me for a long time. I know what you might be thinking just now, having seen that. Oh, I cheated. Well, honestly, while I think it's nice to get a break from the screen fatigue and work on paper and pencil, at the same time, I don't always get the proportions right when I do paper and pencil. I don't always find myself to be the greatest penciler. And that's okay. I mean, penciling is still very important. Every part of the comic making process is important. Otherwise, why would you need to do it to make a comic? You know, that wouldn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. Now, I don't know how many people are watching. I don't always know if the live viewers is accurate or not, or if it's me tuning in because I look on my phone sometimes just to see how the sound is coming out, because I have had problems like that in the past. I want to make sure they don't repeat themselves. I also am in need of a new keyboard, and I do not wish to get it from Micro Center for reasons I won't go into, because I'm aiming to keep this as positive as possible, but also as real as possible. And I'm sorry to have to say this, do not do business with Micro Center. Especially do not go to the Micro Center repair center, and I'm talking about the one in Westbury, New York. It's, yeah. So anyways, in case you have questions, what software I'm using, I am using Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Illustrator is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud. Yes, it's subscription-based, but in this world, nothing good is ever free. And anything free usually presents something of a learning curve. There are a lot of advantages to using Illustrator for myself. I worked in printing for a long time, and I found through one of my several printing jobs that vector art can be used for pretty much anything. You see those big signs on buildings wherever you're driving around, walking around, taking the subway, or you look at t-shirts of your favorite characters with the logos and everything. There is a very good chance that the art that was used to make that t-shirt or make that sign was vector artwork, or made to be vector artwork. Both things I have extensive experience doing. And one reason in particular is because vector art can be scaled up or down, or up and down and then up again, without losing resolution or quality. Obviously, it can be exported as JPEG or a PNG, things of that nature, but And I run into this a lot in graphic design. Not everyone has a vector version of their logo. Now, there are services that will vectorize a logo for a nominal fee. I forget precisely what the name of this one service was that I used when I worked at a print shop in Manhasset. But at one time they were known as Riptaw Graphics. And they're a great resource. They turn around things pretty expediently. But at the same time, you know, if you want to go with a live person that you can talk to, you can contact me. That's one of the services that I offer. Want to promote your business services here? Email us at drezenmedia@gmail.com for advertising rates, and also I can give you rates on my other services depending on what they are, because I don't always I try to make a flat fee for everything so that you know what you're paying for up front. There's no surprises, because who enjoys surprises when it comes to money? Nobody. When it comes to commissions, I'm going to give you an all-inclusive price in a quote. When I say something is starting at X amount of dollars, that's usually the base price. That doesn't necessarily account for complexity, but just ask the question. There is no question I won't answer. I am very flexible because I want y'all to be happy with my work. There is no reason for me to do this otherwise if I cannot satisfy either myself or other people. It's very important to me. Just as important as it is to put this comic out. I've been publishing Luckyzilla comics for the past 7 years. Luckyzilla #1 debuted at Long Island's Eternal Con on June 10th of 2016. And it has been featured in Long Island's newspaper, Giant Newsday. Luckyzilla is available to download as part of your Trauma Now subscription on trauma-now.com. Yes, the same Trauma that was founded by Michael Herz and Lloyd Kaufman back in 1974, which would make the Toxic Avenger franchise of films and Toxic Crusaders cartoon, which is also a video game. And the video game is being remade by, I believe, Retroware. There's a trailer for it on their YouTube channel. I don't have a link for it, but it looks fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because I want to make Trauma look good. I mean, I think Trauma looks fantastic as it is. All I can do as their freelance graphic designer is try to make them look even better. Not all of their content is for kids. It's one of the reasons I submitted Luckyzilla to them for Trauma Now, is to give them more family-friendly content, because they have it. It's unfortunately not what they're known for, because they do have some stuff on there that any family, I think, would enjoy. It's not a lot, but it's there. And for when the kids go to sleep, there are hundreds upon hundreds of truly independent films. I can't say the titles of all of them, but what I can tell you is there is something for everyone. No two Troma films are exactly the same. None. No two of them. And not all of them were made by Troma. They acquire independent films. And if you're interested, hop on their website at troma.com. It has some information for you. I've gotten to know Lloyd Kaufman in the near 6 months that I have been associated with Troma, and he's a great guy. And so is his assistant, and so is Michael Hers, as is Maris Hers, Michael's wife. Character I'm inking now is Harmony D'Angelo. Up until Luckyzilla number 32, she was Bruce's detective partner. You'll have to read Luckyzilla number 32 to discover why I said up until, because I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't read Luckyzilla number 32. It's another reason why I think Illustrator is great. Vectors are point A, point B, and some points in between. You can adjust the lines depending on what kind of tool you draw with. It's just fantastic. Gives you a lot of flexibility. There are 7 panels on this page. As I said, this is page 13. Now, unfortunately, out of concern for potential spoilers, if I'm able to finish this in the time that I hope to finish it in, and I am able to lay it out in the page layout itself, I unfortunately am not going to be able to show you the final part, which involves putting in the dialogue. So it may reveal some things that, well, you know how people are about spoilers. I mean, I think it's gotten to a point now where it's really just, it's kind of silly. Like, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. I'm like, hey, I won't see the movie. That's fine. I'm not gonna spoil the movie for anybody. Won't tell a soul. What do I care? Chances are it usually ends up being a movie that I don't really want to see. So, no worries there. The panel cuts off at a certain point, so the reason why I have this line here is when I go in and do a live paint, which would be the Photoshop equivalent of the paint bucket. when I go in and do the coloring, that's where it's going to end. And also, the actual portion of the character that will be used in the final art panel probably ends around here, but I want to give myself a little bit more to work with in case of anything. So if I don't give myself enough to work with, I have to go in and redraw some stuff and kind of fudge it, and I don't really like to do that if I don't have to. It gets a little annoying. And I mean, hey, this is what it takes to make comics. This is what it takes for me to make comics. Now, just in case I'm not quite ready to merge all these lines together, just some of them. And the reason being, this particular piece interacts with another object in the backgrounds. Okay, in this particular case, I think I got it right. Bear with me while I glance at the dialogue real quick. Okay. While I'm at it, I'm also going to deposit the original art back in its case. And we're going to come to the other camera for a second. This right here is the production folder for Luckyzilla number 33. It contains all the pencil artwork and some character designs for any new characters that appear in the story that haven't been designed yet, such as this one. I can't really tell you anything about the story, other than wait until you read this. This story could get me in some trouble with some people. It might make some people mad. Now, that being said, this is not something to be concerned about in the sense that, oh, is he doing illegal activity? No. Because if I was, do you think I'd be talking about it on the internet? God. No. This is a very intense story. If you have been around the block with Luckyzilla, if you have known of me for a little bit, you probably can see just from the cover art that this could be an explosive issue. And also the I got disconnected. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, reconnection successful. That's great. I forgot what I was saying. That's why I hate being interrupted. If you know anything about Luckyzilla, you probably know that it's been a wild and crazy roller coaster ride for the last few issues. In particular, Luckyzilla numbers 31 and 32, and to an extent number 29. And we have Harmony sitting here. One of the reasons why I don't live stream as often as I used to is because the internet in my area is kind of a pain. And streaming on Facebook is not always pleasant for me. Especially when I start getting these notifications saying, oh yeah, keyframe rate too low. I'm like, I don't care. There have been times I have pre-recorded episodes because I just didn't want to deal with that. And then there have been other times where I'm like, you know, this bandwidth that I have in this essentially dead zone that I live in is probably not just getting used by me, but by my neighbors and my wife when she goes on TikTok, and me too when I'm keeping an eye on you folks, making sure you're not doing anything that I wouldn't do. So she's about over here because we want the continuity to match. He's about there. What we're also going to do is going to put... Whoop. Nope, that's not the right shape. Again, screen fatigue is real, folks. I'm going to kind of fudge a shadow a little bit. There's a certain kind of shadow that I want. I also need to zoom out and focus on the character as a whole. And it doesn't have to be 100%, because the shadow is going to get faded. We're also going to give Harmony a shadow. I'm using OBS Studio to stream. Now, OBS and Facebook seem to have had their differences over the years because my stream health has been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I don't necessarily blame Zuckerberg, although I could if I really wanted to, but honestly I don't really waste my time going into politics and crap because it's not something I really like to waste my time with. I try to make sure that the shadows are... I work in RGB. Now, in terms of printing, most printers look at that as a no-no. And I'm going to say to those that look at it as a no-no, it doesn't matter unless it matters to your equipment. You can work in any color mode. The reason I've worked in RGB for so long is because of the color blue. When I see the color blue on screen, when I see CMYK blue on screen, I'm just going to put this light on, it drives me crazy. And I don't consider myself that much of a color critical person. But when you have a color that's supposed to be blue that isn't blue, it's a purple or a navy, and you need a bright blue, it's like, it throws me off. It throws me through a loop. And that's one reason, but there's also many others. RGB is screens. And because this started as a webcomic, I just didn't see any reason to change it. Now we're getting rid of the roughs here. We're going to save. I'm going to tell you something about Adobe Illustrator. The more crazy stuff that you do in it, the more often you should save. I tend to save at least once or twice during the course of producing a panel, because some panels, if they have more than one character, and that character is a marathon to draw, I don't want to be in a position where I finished everything but the tail of a dragon, and then all of a sudden Illustrator has a big brain fart. And me being the impatient person that I can sometimes be, I don't always wait. But also show a little bit of patience from time to time. It can be worth it. Now, we have drawn 2 panels. I'm going to get into the next one, which is reacting to what is happening in the scene. There's no interaction with other objects. So in this case, I'm going to use the blob brush. The blob brush is what ultimately sold me on Illustrator, because the regular Illustrator brush tool and its cousin, the pen tool, are very intimidating for some people. Like, I mean, drawing with something... Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. No. Because drawing essentially with the mouse, I mean, you can get some of the results that you want, but not always. Like, okay, I gotta go, and now I gotta spread this out, and then, oh, I gotta add more to it. So, let's try that again. Oh, and there's this up here. And, yeah, okay. Oh, but look at that. Whereas if you make your own brushes, which I can show you how to do after I finish this point, it's not like that at all. With a blob brush, you set it to what you're comfortable with, and if you have a tablet, you just go in and you draw the stupid line. And you draw another stupid line. I did not use pressure sensitivity on a tablet until I want to say that I first got a Cintiq. Because it didn't really occur to me that I needed it. Actually, it did. That's a lie. I started using it roughly around 2011, give or take. So I was working on an animated series called The High School Drama Show. And we started on the pilot. It was a half-hour-long pilot. We worked on it for 3.5 years. And in that time, I taught myself things that I should have learned ages ago. But it's a good thing that I learned them on that show, otherwise my art would look about the same as it did when I was in my early 20s. And the things I drew in my early 20s, some of that I can't even look at. I'm going to show you how easy it is to make your own brush. Okay? Let's say I want to do something that's... I don't know. Maybe a mustache. Now I could cheat it and just copy, flip, and paste over here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go the whole 9. This is the kind of mustache that my wife would never let me have. So, okay, we got our mustache. Now we want to make a brush. How do we do that? Well, you got to make sure that the brush tab is open. And I realized I don't have it on screen, so oops. Well, if you have the brush tab open, or not. Okay. Anyways, drag your thing over to the brushes, and it's going to give you a thing. I don't know why it's not. Don't know why it's not. It could just be wanting to focus on the thing. Anyways, we want to do an art brush. I wish I could show you this. This is very frustrating to me. Now, I'm going to mess around with... hang on 1 second. There we go. Oh no, maybe not. Well, this is kind of a pain in the butt. Well, that's something I'm going to work on for the next Drezen Draws. So now we have our new brush, right? There we go. Let's try that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so... There's a lot of cool things you can do with the brush tools in Illustrator. But in this particular case, we're going to go back to the blob brush. Why I loved the blob brush is because it doesn't require you to constantly expand a shape and then pretty much flatten the artwork, the equivalent of flattening the artwork like you would do in Photoshop. It also makes for a lot more vectors on screen, which, depending on your computer's architecture, can slow it down some, so just be prepared for that. There's a lot that I know about computers, and there's also a lot that I don't know. And I know that when I get frustrated and I have to restart my computer because my Illustrator settings are starting to mess with my registry, that is not a good day for me. Harmony D'Angelo typically does not wear lipstick. She doesn't have thick lips like this trend that I see with an emphasis on women's lips. I firmly believe that judging a woman based on her looks is very derogatory. I mean, hey, people like what they like, and they're entitled to it, but, you know. If you're not looking at the whole person, you're just looking at her. If you have the hots for her based on her looks, I mean, you're really missing out. Looks aren't everything. Looks should not be your focus if you're looking to fall in love. It's better to find a partner that checks all your boxes. In other words, go big or go home. I'm gonna get rid of this mustache. Keep it. My demonstration kind of failed because this is also, I'm using a newer version of OBS than I was prior to the end of 2022. So I'm still kind of learning the ropes on it. I thought one of my cats walked in. I have have a meeting to go to in just under an hour. And I think we're going to be able to finish inking and coloring this page prior to that. So that'll make me happy. I will also probably be very superstitious in that I have inked and colored 13 pages, but before I go to sleep, I'm going to want to color a 14th, because the number 13, you know, I'm a little superstitious. I'm a baby. I also am releasing this comic in under 2 weeks. So yeah, what you see here, this at the end of next week will be on a printing press. I gotta go around and check any gaps that might be about us. It don't seem to... maybe that one. This I'm not concerned about, because it's all part of the same thing. After we finish this panel, I'm going to start on a coloring tutorial. Now, motion lines. The color of these, I can kind of start with a partial color tutorial. These will depend on the background colors. Because the colors here in this panel are dark, we're going to want to use something of white color, maybe. And I don't necessarily go entirely by the pencils. The pencils, in the end, to me, are really a guide. And because I'm inking my own work, I frequently take a number of liberties with my pencils. If I were inking someone else's work, I might not. It really all depends on how their work has been published in the past. Because I have seen some fantastic pencilers whose work has been tortured by really terrible inking. I'm obviously not going to name names, but what I will tell you is I've seen it more than twice in the same series, which is unfortunate because, you know, a bad inker can ruin a penciler's reputation. And that's not fair to the penciler. Sometimes I feel like I make a lot of things up as I go. Not always the best practice. Then it gets to a point where it's like, are you trying to finish the work, or are you trying to outdo yourself? When you don't need to outdo yourself. Just, it's not an outdo yourself kind of page. So I've made that mistake before. That's also the Asperger's in me. So I am very detail oriented about a lot of things. Not everything. There are things that I miss. That's also why I hire a second set of eyes to be my editor on the Luckyzilla comics. Editor Eric Grayson, who has been the editor of the Lucky books since issue number 8, will be taking a break for issue number 33. And Justin Sneed, who is a fellow artist who you may remember from the Black History Month episodes that came out last year. He is going to be the guest editor on this book for reasons that I will get into once the book is published. There is a very good reason for it. Also, Justin's a great guy. And, he's talked about, hey, we should collab on something. And, well, this came up, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta get him involved. Hands. Let me tell you something about hands. You gotta look at your hands every so often. You have to act out the poses you want if you want them to work. I understand we're all about deadlines and this, that, and the third. Sometimes even taking a picture of yourself doing the pose is a good idea. You can also, if you have the rights to do so, buy a stock photo of a pose that speaks to you. Check the rights, and if all checks out, trace that photo, and use the pose. If you really want to challenge yourself and use a model, hey, by all means. Just make sure that you go with someone that can hold a pose for a certain period of time, because that's kind of the point of having a model. I think I need to replace this nib, so just bear with me while I do that. last thing I want to do is damage this tablet. I had it repaired in 2021. I also have a spare tablet in case of anything else. It's a 13-inch tablet, so there really isn't there's a lot less real estate, which is kind of annoying. Occasionally, Illustrator will just leave these dots when I make a stroke. It could be the age of the tablet, it could be something in my settings. Sometimes my tablet's drivers clash with Illustrator a bit, and it's very frustrating. I've written to Adobe about it. I'm like, you know, there are some of us that draw in Adobe Illustrator, right? Not everyone uses the damn pen tool. At least as much as some people use the pen tool. Now, I drew in Photoshop for the longest time. And what ended up getting me out of drawing in Photoshop as often as I was the blob brush tool in Illustrator. Because in many aspects, drawing and then filling with color in Illustrator to a beginner can seem like a rather daunting process. It's not. It takes some figuring out, but you have to make sure that everything that you want to color has no gaps in between it, and that can be a process of trial and error, but so is art on its own, so get used to it. Hate to say it like that, but that's what it is. There are certain things that just take some getting used to, and not all of it is pleasant. Some of it can be quite frustrating, but it's all part of the master plan. Okay. So I think we got that squared away. Now we have to unlock all. Have her right about there. And he was maybe right about there. There we go. to simplify the shadows to death in this one. We're also going to make sure they're at the bottom. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start coloring. I'm going to get rid of the background for a second so that we can start to see how this comes into play. Now the first thing we're going to do, if you're on a PC like me, you're going to do Control-Alt-X around your figure that you're looking at color. We're going to do the same for Bruce Deodato just so that he's ready to go when we're ready to color him. Now, because of things, I can't show you my my color chart, which is kind of annoying. I would love to be able to do that. But I have a swatch palette for every character, every one of the main characters that appears in the Luckyzilla comics. Now, I press the letter K. That brings up the live paint bucket tool. I don't know why it's not calling it that. No, it says it right here at the bottom, which you can't see. But, really gotta redo my things. And I have the interface background set to transparent so that you can see what I'm doing. See, this is one of the minor drawbacks is if something, if a part of your object isn't, you don't fully close the gaps, this is what happens. You have to go through and kind of fudge some things, and this is being particularly annoying. Now, because of the resolution being what it is, that little chip in the tooth isn't going to show it. Let's say we're at about 2 inches here. So, normally, I would not make a stink about that, and I'm not going to, but if I stared at that long enough, it might bother me. That, and also when you think about it, your teeth kind of have certain curves, like right in the middle, at the top and the bottom. So it kind of works out in the wash. Showing gums. And she has decent gums. We have 4 more panels to go. I don't know if we're going to finish all of this. I would like to, but it's 6:39. Harmony is not wearing her usual outfit in this issue. They're on vacation. That much I can tell you. Where on vacation they are, well, you have to get your hands on Luckyzilla number 33. To find out the rest of the story. I was hesitating doing this episode of Drezen Draws for the longest time because I didn't want anything to interfere with production, and also this is a new computer. My old computer bit the dust. I still use it, but not for drawing in Illustrator, for other things. And Harmony is just about done. And also, again, it's the internet where I live. And also, I am a pain in the ass when it comes to resolution. I think things should look a certain way, and if not necessarily me, then my work. And I often output the show at 1280 by 720. There's a lot more technical stuff behind it, but that's why Drezen Draws has been sporadic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this all up. And if I can't do it with keyboard shortcuts, I do it manually, which is what I just did. And I will apply the Pathfinder tool. I don't know why certain things are not displaying right, which is kind of annoying to me. Anyways, there are some settings I have to play with. Certain things just don't come easy to you when you have to kind of sort of start learning them all the freak over again. Now we're gonna do Bruce Deodato. The colors, the swatch palettes for the characters were created in 2015 while the Luckyzilla animated pilot was actively in production. And unlike the high school drama show, which I was involved in prior to the animated Lucky pilot, many of the characters there were designed and I was working from those models. But in the case of Luckyzilla, when I say working from those models, I meant there were Photoshop files that were designed by our character designer on that show. And they were sent to me and I would extract what I could from the Photoshop documents. In the case of Luckyzilla, I could do that, but I found myself searching for colors a lot more often and, you know, picking them off with the eyedropper tool, but sometimes that takes an awfully long time to find that right color, especially with what Adobe Animate was at the time, and at the time it was also called Adobe Flash. Now I'm going to show you a very interesting trick. Now, if you're in a hurry and you just want to get this done, and everything's the same color, it's just you have strokes and an outline, like teeth, for example. You create a shape from nothing, and then you shift it right into the background. We could do it here, but there isn't a lot of just constant clicking. Certain live paint areas are forgiving with regards to the gap in between lines. Not always, so yeah, I would be wary of that. Actually, the socks are this color. I can pull another page for reference. And again, the areas that are kind of a pain to fill in, and you can employ the pen tool. Or you can lock the object, use the blob brush tool, or shape, or whatever the heck you want to use. Make what you need. Send that sucker to the background, or I should say, in front of the shadows. Now here's where things get a little tricky. See, in Luckyzilla, what became Luckyzilla number 22, that was adapted from a webcomic story called The Last Branch. And that was published in the... Hang on. That was published during the early part of COVID. And at that time, Luckyzilla was redesigned for his 25th anniversary. But in the first story to feature the redesign, Bruce Deodato only appeared as Luckyzilla. He had yet to appear. I had yet to redesign Lucky as Bruce Deodato. Okay, apparently the Knicks are playing tonight. So I had to race to redesign Bruce, which didn't take really that long at all. However, after playing around with some color options, I decided to have Bruce age a little bit. So I ended up having him go partially gray, which he has been since, well, at least on the cover of Luckyzilla number 19, it was introduced fully in the books in Luckyzilla number 20, released that same year of 2020. And Luckyzilla number 22 was released in the early part of 2021. Let's see how much longer we can go. I mean, we've colored one panel out of 7. Also keep in mind there are other methods to getting this stuff done. It doesn't have to be one specific way. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not 100% happy with how Bruce's hair looks in this, and we can kind of play with that a bit. Bruce is a black man, okay? A black man drawn the way you would draw a white man, number of factors depending on that. You draw a black man like you draw a white man, it's not gonna look right. And you're gonna piss some people off. This nib is really starting to slow me down. going to do is I'm going to get one of my fresh nibs from a purchase I made just prior to COVID. And I can still get these nibs. They're third party, which is fine. But I'm going to tell you from just an active Wacom user, depending on how many times a day you use your tool and how many days in a week. Like, I use my Wacom, my Wacom's, I should say, because I have more than one. As if you're doing a full-time job with it, or if you are on a full-time job with it. I highly recommend stocking up on nibs. You will need them, and just so that this way my wife isn't accidentally on camera. As I was saying, you will need nibs, and it also depends on how hard you press on your device. I press very hard, and I've been trying to avoid that for the longest time. Doesn't always work that way. And there we are. We shrunk the face just a little bit. The eyes should be fine as they are. Yeah, there we go. That looks how Bruce is supposed to look. He's not wearing eyeliner. He's looking down. This music that's playing right now, I have used in a video found elsewhere on my channel. Occasionally, once in a while, I make very silly videos. And in this particular case, it was called Celebrate National Feed Peanuts to an Elevator Day. I said it's very silly. That's Bruce Deodato. Not the other way around. Go watch them. Some of this we're actually going to shave off. This we're going to kind of do. I'll move this out of the way. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to do this hand, because looking at this hand, it's okay. Like I said, sometimes I am not the greatest penciler. And pencils, honestly, are not what the reader sees in the finished comic. Unless, of course, you're going for that kind of a style, and I myself am not. So, no reason for people to see pencils unless it's in this particular case, or if you happen to be a collector of original art, which, fair warning, is a very expensive hobby. Like, let's say you're a Jack Kirby fan. First of all, on eBay, don't expect to find anything but reproductions, because that's all I've found. And if you do find legit any originals, expect to pay an arm and a leg. They are, like I said, not cheap. Now, we do not have enough time to finish what I was hoping to finish. I may come back later, I may come back over the weekend. I may not be able to come back within the amount of time before the release of this book, but hey, now this is what it is. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming, but, you know, can end up with some really exciting stuff. Some of my friends have told me they want to do inks for me, and if any of those friends are watching, this could be one of the reasons why I haven't asked any of you to do inks for me. I do enjoy penciling, but I think my eyesight has been compromised a lot over the last several years that I have been at this venture. So when I'm not looking at a screen, you know, it's a kind of a new thing for me, I feel. It's far, and even though I was using pencil, I actually used pen a lot. So pen and paper long before I got myself working on a tablet. I was born in 1985, so yes, I've been kinda at this for a bit. I created Luckyzilla when I was all of 10 years old, on or about December 18 of 1995. And this December will mark 28 years since the creation of Lucky. And October 18th of this year will mark 8 years. 8 straight years of Lucky in comics. Also, this tablet is old and cranky. Can't really afford a new one at the moment, but in time I will be saving my pennies. And also financing. Financing is a good thing. If you're scared to have a credit card, I'm telling you right now, inflation is going to be the least of your problems. If you don't have a credit card, I highly recommend getting one. I hope you'll pardon me for just a moment. Oh, of course. Pardon me all, I have to go on a quick break. Okay, sorry about that. Occasionally when I switch screens, I start drawing again, I get these blobs and it's kind of... We're going to have to stop. Let's see. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, and I hope you have. I hope you will follow me here on Facebook. I don't have Drezen Draws on Instagram, but I do have Drezen Media on Instagram. I also have a website where you can submit your requests for commissions, drezenmedia.com, and we'll go through that lovely bunch of ads again. I'm available for all sorts of events. Message us and/or to reserve. Go to drezenmedia.com. You can commission me there as well. You can even submit photos, reference photos, for what it is that you might want me to draw. I am going to be at the following events on these dates. Mark your calendars. And if you happen to be in the vicinity of these places, come on down and say hello. Be sure to check out Luckyzilla Comics on Trauma Now. They're also for sale on drezenmedia.com and luckyzilla.com, respectively. So, for the moment, I am going to bid you all adieu. I hope everyone that watched this enjoyed. And I wish I could tell you when the next Drezen Draws is going to be. So, if this is your first time, I've got 129 other shows on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page that you can treat yourselves to. So in the meantime, till our next go-round, stay drawsome. Where's the end title? All right. Catch you later.